Okay, S1s, welcome back to another lesson of Modern Studies with Mr. Clark. And what you're going to be doing over the next couple of lessons, I'm going to give you 2 weeks to do this. So is looking at children's rights in India as an assessment piece. And you're going to need all of the information you've done so far in the India Modern Studies topic. That's 8 lessons. You can go to the Google Classroom folders, and I will make sure all of the presentations, including the ones before we went on lockdown, are there, so you can look through those as you need to. So just to outline the learning intentions, the idea is to complete a research project about a group of children who don't research their rights in India. So the success criteria is I can explain why a group of children in India don't receive their rights and what impact this has on them. So you're going to be talking about that in your project. And I can suggest a way that this issue could be resolved, fixed, or managed, or situation improved. What is the assessment? So what needs to be done to make sure all children in India receive their rights? That is the assessment question. That is effectively what you're answering. And you need to make sure you've got maybe a little conclusion at the end of your presentation that you'll give as well at the end about this, and making sure you've linked back to this question. It's important in geography, history, and modern studies. We link our answers back to the questions we give, and in fact, most subjects. And you might have heard us talk about P, point, explain, expand, or PEAL, as they talk about in English, point, explain, expand, and link back to question. And that's kind of what we're doing here. And the assessment will be over 2 kind of main lessons. So I'm giving you this week and next week. Obviously, you'll have your other lessons with your other social subjects teacher that you'd normally have with me as well, and I meet with them separate to this. So this will be the next couple of weeks' work. What it will require you to do is make a response to that question in blue, and I want you to do that via either a speech, a poster, a PowerPoint, a newspaper article, a comic strip, or an essay. It's your choice entirely. If you want to do a speech, all that I would like to be submitted by maybe the end of the first week is your maybe your speech cards. So if you're going to have some cards or things you're going to say in your speech, you can type that up so you've got it and you've submitted that. The second week, what you're going to have to do is make a video presentation of your work. So you could either get someone to film you doing your speech, or get someone to film you showing your poster and talking me through it and answering that question. Likewise, a PowerPoint, you could video the PowerPoint or a voiceover and submit that. But it must be a video of you giving it, and must hopefully see you within that. It won't be shared amongst the rest of the class unless I maybe ask you for permission to do that. A newspaper article is another option. You have done some of these before, so hopefully that might interest some of you. Comic strip, we've done quite a few of those in geography, and I think a lot of you have quite liked those, so that's an option for you as well, as long as you are meeting the success criteria. Or an essay. So just remember, your first week, your first deadline, you're going to make sure you've submitted your answer to everything there, and your presentation will be in the next week, and that gives you time to edit your video if you want to edit it or change it. Practice giving the presentation. I suggest you do maybe a couple of dry runs before you actually give the video presentation, rather than having to take multiple little videos and connect them up. You could do one big video giving the whole presentation. And remember, we all make mistakes at times, and I do it in lessons sometimes. And it's just fine just to roll on with the camera and just ignore that. Just say, excuse me, or just ignore it and keep talking over any error. Okay. You should use what you've learned in this unit. All of your, I said workbook there, and that would normally be in school, but all of your notes or work you've submitted, or any of the notes under Google Classroom under the coursework folder for S1 Modern Studies India. You should be able to find that. Your outcomes, what you're actually achieving here is you're achieving what we call a third level benchmark outcome. And in secondary school, you're looking at, in first, second year, you're really aiming at kind of achieving as many of these different outcomes as you can. And teachers, we don't always share them specifically with you. We tell you a learning intention success criteria, but this is to show you that to achieve third level, you can explain why a group that you've identified might experience inequality and suggest ways in which this inequality might be addressed. The key thing is that you can suggest ways in which an inequality can be addressed, and that inequality is about rights perhaps here, and you are achieving that if you meet all the success criteria today. So what are the success criteria? And what do you need to do? Right, step 1. So you're going to choose one issue to focus on. Okay, so you can choose poverty, water and sanitation. So remember, sanitation is kind of a sewage system, and it also includes clean piped water, but it's to do with keeping clean, and those are 2 ways that that's achieved. Child marriage, education, pollution, or child labour. So some of the issues we studied individually, and obviously you can refer back to those individual lessons to help you with facts and figures too. What you should include. So there are 4 main questions here. What problems do some children in India face? What are the impacts of this problem? What rights are being lost because of this or due to this? And 4, what needs to be done in order for these children to receive their rights? I've given you a success criteria there. I want all of you to be aiming for the sum of you. Okay, you include all of the sections. You can describe 3 impacts of the issue, describe 2 rights lost, suggest 2 things to improve the lives of these children, have 3 different sources to get my evidence, and have displayed information in 3 ways. That's the target. Okay, so that's what I want you to keep coming back to. There is a planning sheet. I've attached that to this assignment in the Google Classroom. It looks pretty much like that table. What I've also done is, if you prefer to, you could take your notes on the next slide. I've made these slides editable for you, and I want you to, in your first week, make sure you have completed your little planning notes. It's just a good task to make sure you've done to get your basic notes done, and obviously you might have more on your final poster or presentation, whatever you're going to do, but you need to make sure want to see evidence of this planning sheet completed. So either use the Google Doc, which is editable, which is a planning sheet just like this, or you can use this Google slide to take some notes, whichever helps you. If you've not got enough space here, add a slide to take any additional notes. What we'll do is we'll maybe have a little bit of you'll get some feedback from me afterwards. Normally we'd have a bit of group feedback and discussion in class, which is a bit more difficult with distance learning. And part of that, we look at a feedback wheel, and you think about things that have gone well or haven't gone well, how we can improve them. We maybe have a bit of a discussion during Google Meet about that at some point. What we'll do just now is I'll quickly show you on Google Classroom what I was talking about. So on Google Classroom, if you go to one of your classes, so I'll pick an S1 class at random. So go to 1T2, for example. If I click on classwork, you have access to lots of different folders. Okay, so we're making sure I tidy these up a little bit, but you'll have one that's something like India, Modern Studies, or S1 Mods India, and you'll have all your lessons will be put into this folder so you can see them, and you can go back and refer to that. Some resources there for you, which should help you. Okay, if there's any questions, as always, please get in touch with me on Google Classroom under the assignment in the comments section, or you can direct message me on my email. And I'll look forward to speaking to you at our next Google Meet, which will be at the same time as it normally is each week. And you'll get a notification as well, or check your Google Calendar for when your meetings are meant to be occurring with your class teacher.